confirmation. But I think, yeah, we did it. I know that there's a lot of people here waiting to see you and talk to you. They have been for days. So it's good to it's good to finally get you on here, man. How have you been? How are you doing over there?
Yeah, doing okay. First and foremost, hello, and thank you for having me. Thank you to you, Eric, for hosting this Q&A. Very, very excited to be here, to be talking about it, to have pulled all this together in these very challenging times. You know, I'm currently in London right now, and have been here locked down for, I think we're in our 7th week now, and I know some people in different places have been locked down for more time than that, and everybody's going through it. So sending my love and my warmth and my thoughts to everybody right now. You know, I think I've kind of been dealing with it really, really well. You know, at least from what I've been gathering around the world, and obviously there's been a lot of challenges, but you know, we're all going to get through it, and I'll be back to normal at some point. But in the meantime, you know, it's good for me to be here. I'm happy that Enemy Lines is now out in the US, coming out in the UK very soon, and around the world as well. So happy to have the opportunity to chat to you about that and about everything else tonight.
Yeah, man, we're very excited to talk to you. The movie's incredible. I'm assuming everyone who's on this live feed has seen the movie, and it seems like a lot of fans of yours were very excited to see you playing this role, and you know, excited to talk to you a little bit about the role that you played, the movie. You know, kind of get into it. One thing though, before we start, I called you the other day. Just the text that you ended on was, "Sorry, the pigeon lady just left." That was emotional. I just,
I guess I should explain that
I
a
don't know. I
little
feel
bit,
like you
right?
should talk
I should
about the
probably,
pigeon lady because it's kind of, I feel like it's going to be a good sequitur into our conversation about Enemy Lines.
yeah. I mean, it's always good when you can kick off a Q&A talking about pigeons, you know. Yeah, I will explain that. So I just moved into a new place, and a couple of days into, and this was just before lockdown hit London, there's a balcony area here, and I walked out one morning from, you know, I walked out into that area, and there was a pigeon there. And it was quite strange. It only actually hit me weeks later. I don't know how the pigeon ended up there, because the pigeon was injured. Okay, so this pigeon had been attacked by something, and you know, a fair bit of damage to one of its wings, and it was stranded. And you know, I didn't know what to do. I don't have much experience dealing with pigeons, as you can imagine. But I thought I'm gonna try my best here to kind of offer some support. And so over the next couple of days, I managed to build a small shelter for this pigeon, and put down some grain. It was eating organic grain, you'll be pleased to know, within a couple of days. And I wanted to give this guy a bit of a fighting chance at trying to recover. Now, you know, I did a little bit of research about what to do with the pigeon in this situation, and you know, because the lockdown had happened, it wasn't kind of indicating that I should go to one of the larger animal protection groups. So I just kind of looked after him as best I could, and then eventually a couple of days ago, I Googled a wildlife rescue group. I came across a wildlife rescue group, and this lovely lady, literally, excuse the pun, flew to the rescue. And she came and, you know, went round the back and was able to get access to the pigeon, and scooped him up, and was taking him off for to have treatment. She assured me, and that he would be, you know, he would be cared for, and if possible, you know, he would fly again, and if not, he was going to live out his days in an aviary in Sussex, which is a beautiful part of England. And it doesn't sound like it. It didn't sound like that. It was too bad a situation. So I hope I did okay. But we got pretty attached, and I named him Randy.
It. Yeah, you named it Randy.
Yeah. He had the name Randy. I can't quite remember why. We settled on Randy, but that's what that's how that's what he named up. That's what he ended up with as a name. And it's funny, man. It's funny because I don't know how I would have reacted. Well, under normal circumstances, of course, I would have done my best to make sure that this lovely pigeon was cared for. He probably would have moved on to another home a little bit more quickly, but quarantine, lockdown, you develop strange bonds, so
I love it.
What was going on. So that explains the text message that you received. Yes.
I think you're gonna have to post some pictures of Randy. You took some, right?
I have some pictures of Randy. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
On my phone. Did I send you them?
No, you didn't send them to me. I'm just expecting to see them on social media later, since we've been talking about Randy and you rescuing Randy, a pigeon, not a scientist.
Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing that I didn't realize at first. But if on my latest post, not my latest post, maybe my latest post, it's the one of me in a pink shirt in the house by the balcony. If you zoom in on the corner of the photograph, down on the bottom left, Randy is there. Randy is there. I'm being photobombed by Randy the pigeon.
I'm doing this right now.
You got to put it up right now.
I'm going to see if I can find it.
So, he's trying to, he was obviously,
He's in a little cage.
He knew what was up.
That's Randy right there.
There he is. Pop it out. That's it.
He's over there.
So he knew his moment was coming. He wanted to he's probably looking for some followers or something. I don't know. But anyway, Randy had his moment, so I was happy to help.
I just felt like it was kind of suiting you just saving people's lives. A pigeon's life, a person's life, whether you're portraying a character in a movie or real life. Why don't we just jump into enemy lines? I think the easiest place to start would be...
It's a natural transition, right?
It's so easy. Transition. Randy the Pigeon, enemy lines. How did the project come to you? How did you find enemy lines, and when was this?
Yeah, so this would have been the end of 2018, right at the end, right around Christmas time. The script came to me. The producer, great guy, Andy Thompson, had worked with and was friended with my manager, and it was just like, look, take a look at this World War II piece, this action film, and tell us what you think. And I was intrigued from get-go because some of my favorite films are set in that era, are set within that genre. I love Saving Private Ryan, which was actually filmed. Some of it was filmed not too far away from where I grew up in Hertfordshire, in England. So, as a fan of those kinds of movies, I wanted to take a look at it. I was very interested, so I read the script, and I thought that this sounded like a lot of fun. I thought it was a very, a slightly different story, perhaps, a kind of story, kind of World War II story we don't see too much. We're used to seeing the big battles on the front lines and stuff like that. And then this was something that was going on in a different area, a different theater, if you will, within the whole World War II event. And a very, very important, significant part of it. These types of missions were going on all the time, some successful, some unsuccessful, and proved to be very, very important. So, our story focuses on on one or a couple of those real life missions. So I read the script, and I was totally up for it, man. So I had a discussion with Anders Bank, the director, and with the producers, Andy, who I mentioned, and we threw around a couple of ideas. They were very open to discussion about the piece and my input, which as an actor is, it's not expected because, as an actor, you come in and you play your part. But in the event that people do want to, have some discussion about different creative ideas and things like that, it's such a great thing to experience, because you really feel like you're a lot more involved in that case. And so we discussed a few different things, a few different pieces about the story and what different things meant, and where we thought we could enhance certain bits. And I think we were able to achieve that. So that was right around Christmas time, 2018. And then Christmas happened, and then first week of Jan, we packed the bags, got on a plane, and we went off to very cold, very snowy Belarus, and we shot the movie there. And I was there for the next 6 weeks, I think it was about.
Was that the first time you'd ever been to Belarus?
5 or 6 weeks. It was my first time in Belarus. Very, very interesting place. Didn't really know too much. I mean, how much can you know about somewhere that you've never been to, right? So, had arrived there. It was a very, very interesting place. It felt like, felt slightly futuristic, It had a lot of kind of, the big electronic billboards and stuff like that. But then it had a very, very Eastern European, very ex-Soviet bloc feel to it in terms of some of the architecture and stuff like that. So I had a very kind of interesting mixture of elements. The people were lovely. Had some really, really good food there. And they were celebrating I think it was their New Year slightly later, because I think they're on the Orthodox calendar. I think they're on a different calendar. So that was interesting. So it was almost like 2 New Years, one after the other. So it was a city full of, Minsk was very, very full of life, and very, very noisy at times. It was all fine. But no, then we got to it, we were out in the woods a lot in the cold, on a lot of these recreated 1940s, World War II era sets, and just really got stuck into it, man. I had a great experience.
I imagine all those sets were built, right? Or were you working on existing locations, but were they built, right? Because you were blowing a lot of them up.
Yeah, so one of the things I didn't know about Belarus is these are the guys who you go to do a World War II film if you're going to do one outside of the USA or outside of the UK. So they have all of the stuff, all of the equipment. They have the experts in, wartime or war choreography. And it was amazing. We had these sets built. There was almost like a whole village built for us. I think in the movie, for those who have seen the movie so far, there's a moment where my character and another one of the soldiers who are undercover kind of thing, we go into a village. We're going to try and make contact with the partisans. And this whole village was constructed. And it really was the only thing there. So not only have you got this very kind of intense, powerful atmosphere, which is created by the weather, which was complete snow. The whole film is in complete snow. Which has, it's that silence, that deafening silence, We also had these fantastic villages. This fantastic village which was built up for us, and then along with everyone in costume and everything like that, it really, really created the perfect atmosphere. And that's the ideal kind of atmosphere you can ask for as an actor as well, because there's very few distractions that are reminding you of, your reality,
You're maybe a
and
few
you're able
miles away
to
from a city and
really feel like,
buildings.
yeah, exactly. You can feel immersed in it. So I, hats off to the guys, and the construction guys, and all of the crew that put together these sets, and hats off to everyone for creating this environment, because I feel like we were able to really get into it.
Yeah, I felt like the production design and the production elements gave you kind of like the viewer a transportative experience. It felt very authentic to the point where like I was watching it with people. We were wondering if these were real locations or sets. So I mean, hats off to the filmmakers for going the distance. Also with the tanks, the weapons, I'd say the wardrobe, everything seemed very authentic, which I'm sure helped for you getting into
Yeah,
character.
I definitely, and I mean, I'm not one to glorify war in any sense, but it was pretty damn cool when these tanks were on set, and we had all the guys, suited up in the uniforms. And I tell you what, man, when the guns went off by my head, that sounded pretty well, pretty real. I think they might have slightly different rules in Belarus when it comes to stunt work, but
Yeah.
it was all. But
Were
no,
you doing all your own
you know,
stunts?
I think that. Yeah, no, it's not that. I feel like the left eardrum popped a few times with those
Oh
guns.
wow.
Guns were a little bit too close, but it was good. It felt authentic for sure.
It did. It had like a very. I mean, you and I were talking about this a couple of days ago about how the film had a much more authentic feel than maybe a Bond or a Bourne or some movie like that where it's like a roller coaster. This movie felt more like an
Sure.
authentic, raw story where the action wasn't people flying off of buildings, but you were being, you know, people were following you and you guys would get stuck and attacked, and that felt pretty real.
Yeah, I think one. Yeah, it feels. Look, the thing about this, the conflict, it does seem kind of 75 years. I mean, it's a long time ago, and only a few people around actually really remember it. Um, so I think that environment, that conflict, that situation is difficult to relate to, sure. But one of the things that I think you have to remember about these people, the people who were fighting, is they were a few of them were career soldiers, and were people who were, this is what they've done, and some of them are right, had fought in World War I, but these were people who would have been doing normal jobs, had this war not been on, who might have been drafted into the war at any stage, so, and wouldn't be walking around with the training or skills that almost superheroes, superhuman skills that you see like a James Bond or someone have. So, not to say that they weren't slick. I think our core of characters in this film are an elite commando unit. Therefore, they are well trained. Therefore, they move with skill, and they get the job done. But they are, they're still normal people. It's still a very frightening experience for them. This is something where they could lose their lives at any moment, and the danger and the risks are extremely high. But they have a job to do, and they're going to, their will to get that job done, their sacrifice, the heart, that they have, is incredible. And there were people in this war on both sides that had that, but yeah, so it's very interesting playing somebody who is a real person. I wanted my character to be real, I wanted him to feel like a real person, who was being asked to go above the call of duty, and swallow his fear, and swallow all the things that would make any one of us understandably turn and run away from these situations, to make him, so people could see what he was about, and see what the sacrifice that he was willing to make there's so many make in the military and in the armed forces.
Mhm. Just touching on that, how much of yourself did you bring to this character? Were you exploring new areas of yourself with like, maybe doing more research on the period and also bringing elements of you to this character? Maybe just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you always have to bring an element of yourself, because that's the most authentic thing you can bring. And at the end of the day, it's your body and it's you that is walking through it, and that is going to be in the scene. So I think as an actor, you're able to draw on things that might have similar emotions at certain times, or certain parts of a story where you're like, you know what, I've been in this before. I can kind of imagine how this would go, everything like that. But I haven't been to war. I haven't been a soldier. So what I could focus on is somebody who would have had another life, a life not too dissimilar to my own. He would have been a guy and had a family, and had things that he enjoyed back home, and everything like that, and hobbies and people he cared about, and a sense of normalcy, and a sense of feeling of safety, feeling safe, and then being completely taken out of that situation. Now that was hard to relate to, but we've all experienced fear. We've all experienced times where we know we've had to kind of, just get up and get it done. Now I've never felt like my life has been on the line. That's a very different. No one's ever put a gun to my head or shot at me and all of that. But you have to use your imagination to fill in the blanks. Now, I have got friends who have served in Afghanistan and Iraq, people that I know and people that I've met over the years and spoken to them about that. And I've read one or two bits and pieces on that. And, maybe there are bits of what they've said, or little things I picked up in their eyes when they've been telling me a story, that, you read a bit of emotion that you're getting from them in those moments, and you're able to fill in the gaps, as I say, with your own imagination, and give it your best shot at living what that must be like in real circumstances, So there's that. And then, in terms of just kind of the era, and what it was like, being a man in those times and all of that, I think that, I think people do differ from generation to generation, certainly, and it's not just about getting old. That was a generation of particular valor, of particular integrity and honor and bravery, definitely, and toughness. This was a generation that went through a war, went through World War II, and yes, we have our wars and everything like that. But there was, perhaps something a little bit different about these guys, and women of this era. So I just did my best. But I tell you what, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the 1940s music. I'm a big fan of that kind of music, and it just has such a resonance for that time, and can really help you set a mood. So there was a lot of that being played while I was shooting this film, for sure.
Yeah, How was it shooting in the snow? It seemed like it was probably pretty physically demanding, walking through fields of what looks like a foot-high snow. Did you do any? What was your prep for the movie physically? Did you do combat training? Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so going into the film, I was training in the gym and stuff, as always, but possibly I was focused on maybe being a little bit more kind of leaner, and I remember having a sense of hunger on this film, because I wanted I wanted that to feel kind of real. I mean, these guys weren't walking around, 3-course meals and bellies full and feeling nice and comfortable and ready to take a nap. No, they were on edge, and definitely there wasn't much food going around, So I wanted to kind of try and maintain that or recreate that sense physically. So I did that. I did combat training with weapons, with guns on another film I did a few years ago. So I felt like I had retained some of that training. So I felt equipped to do that. And then getting on set and getting into that snow, as you just touched on, that was pretty challenging. So, I mean, in places it was a foot deep. In places it was 3 foot deep. You know what it's like when it's snow covered out there. You can't tell. So sometimes you're stepping and you're going straight through. So I don't know if they managed to get any of those on the blooper reel. That might be something. I'll be delivering a very serious line and then just disappeared down 3 foot of snow. That'll be something. But no, some of the great shots in that film where we as a group are moving in formation across a very open space covered in snow. Obviously, the way filming happens is you're often doing one shot quite a few times, and sometimes people don't understand that it can take a long time to shoot one thing that seems like it should only take a few seconds. So we were marching, man, treading through this snow quite a lot, and that was pretty exhausting. But it's a one thing. It warms you up because you're working out pretty tough. But then once you start, all your sweat just turns to ice, man. So it's quite uncomfortable. But it was good being out there. I think it just added a grit to it, man, and it added a lot of beauty to the shots.
The shots were beautiful.
I just loved it. I thought it was very gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was shot very well. The action scenes were done very well, and how was it working with the director and cinematographer?
Yeah, really, really cool. So I think these guys have known each other for, I think they were buddies from film school, which is great. I think some of the greatest sets I've been on is where people have worked together before, and so, there we go. People have worked together before and, have that sense of ease with one another. And these guys definitely had that. I really enjoyed working with them, and the way they kind of moved the camera around in what I already described as tough conditions, lugging big cameras around and equipment and crew and getting everybody around. It was very cool. It was very interesting for me to watch that because, I've been on all different types of sets, but I hadn't been in the woods in the snow, shooting with tanks and with guns like that. So it was very exciting, man. Very exciting.
Yeah. We've talked for almost 30 minutes, but I just kind of wanted to get into some fan questions. But before doing that, you said that you had a little bit of relation to this war. Your grandfather actually was part of World War II. And with VE Day coming up soon, maybe I just wanted to chat about your family's relation to World War II.
Yeah, definitely. So my grandfather, who I never met, sadly, my mum's dad, he was a specialist engineer, and so he was helped making tanks and other equipment for the war effort. So he was one of the guys that was required at home because of his specialist skills during World War II. So that was it. And then my other grandfather actually was in North Africa, which I forgot to mention to you the other day. My dad's dad, and he he had his own squadron or regiment that he was in charge of out there. And again, sadly, I never got to meet him. So, I mean, I hear the stories and see the photographs of both of these guys, and so many men and women sacrifice so much, and you know, we're part of this. I mean, sad, really. It's terrible the war ever has to happen, but it's part of our history.
Right. It's a unique experience that you get to tell a story that has something to do with your family.
Yeah.
Should we jump into some fan questions?
I love the fans, man.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it. You have amazing fans. Here's one that I liked. What was your favorite scene to shoot in Enemy Lines?
That's a really tough question because there were so many. So we actually got to shoot. Can I have two? I'm going to have two. So we shot at this fantastic opera house in Minsk, and we were shooting there. And it was just such a grand, gorgeous building, and to be all suited in the U.S. Marine outfit, and a room full of people. We're having cocktails and smoking cigarettes and walking around, just recreating that atmosphere. That just felt very sophisticated and like a time machine and very elegant. So that was really cool. But then obviously the actual action was something very special. I think for me, probably when oh man, there's so many, but when we were in the woods and we're walking through the woods, and we're just about to meet the partisans, and there's a shootout just before then, where I grab the doctor and I pull him around some trees to try and cover him. It was incredibly difficult because it was on a hill like this,
Yeah,
but
it looked very difficult.
Yeah, it was, but it was it was exhilarating, absolutely exhilarating.
Yeah, that's great. We have another one. Comparison to all of the characters that you have played, what do you think Major Kaminsky taught you as an actor and maybe a person as well?
Wow, what a brilliant question. I think about leadership and about the choice of words. He is a leader of this unit. He's not a man of many words. He sticks to the message. He sticks to leading. To be keeping calm, seeing when people need to see calm, and a sense of determination. And I think that is an incredible ability to have, an incredible skill to perhaps learn, and one that I'd like to think I have. I think I have that. Probably nowhere near as brave as Major Kaminsky, if I'm being completely honest. But I'm sure glad there are people out there like that when we need them.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think you portrayed the personalities of that character very well.
Thank you.
Did you learn any Russian words?
Any Russian words? I have not learned any Russian words. I'm sorry, Russia, but I would really like to come and visit your country. My brother lived in Russia in the 90s, so he's told me a few stories. But I would love to come to Russia at some point, and then I am totally up for anyone who wants to teach me some Russian. Can please do so. Thank you so much.
I think there's a lot of people here who would love to teach you Russian on this live chat. Let's see. Who inspired you for your part in Enemy Lines?
I think probably just a mixture of characters, a mixture of people. I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of some of the World War II classics like Saving Private Ryan, but I wouldn't necessarily say that you know, there was direct inspiration. I mean, the inspiration for me comes from the story as a whole, comes from me creating a voice for this character and using my imagination, and then using, as I already spoke about, what parts of myself could I put in that situation. And then, you know, you kind of just, you know, with anything, you're never going to have an exact clear cut, you know, idea of what this is until it starts. You know, once you perform and you start acting with the other people and you start having the conversations with the director and you get a feel for the environment, you know, sometimes things come out differently. You know, they have a life of their own, and you want that. You want your character. You want to have an idea of your character, of course, but you want to be flexible at first and maybe throughout, because it's a living, breathing thing. And you don't know, in a scene, certain things might happen that make you think, oh, I was going to react in this way, but now I feel like my character would react in this way. But in terms of inspiration, I just lent on my imagination and lent on some different things, and wanted, you know, I think I just started with like a strong guy who realized he had a Call of Duty here, you know, and I wanted to start with that and see where it kind of took me, and I built it up and I designed a backstory for him and his life, and back home in the States. And you know, one scene that I had this idea. I had this idea after we finished filming, at least in the opera house, that I wish I would have pitched to the director. I was thinking that there should have been a scene, or should have been a quick flash of Kaminsky dancing with his wife, and shot in slow-mo or something like that. And then later on in the conflict, or later on in the film, I would have loved to have seen a moment where we flashed back to that, so you could see what he was thinking, just so we had a tiny bit more. But for me, this was all going on. This is what was in his mind. And I hope at times, you know, we were able to see that this wasn't a robot, this wasn't a superhero, this was a man who was very, very terrified, and was dealing with that and trying to get the job done.
Yeah. Let's see here. What was the thing that most surprised you during production? Maybe there, you know, if there's anything, or maybe funny, scary, anything, any good stories from set.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think well, all in one probably was how loud we had the real World War II guns. We had I think it was like a Russian rifle or something like that, and that thing just pinged off by my head, man, and that was pretty scary, but and super loud. But no, I think it was a combination, man. I mean, I think that and some of those explosions were going off very, very close. You know, I didn't see anyone getting carted off on a stretcher or anything like that, but we had a lot of extras, you know, and there was a lot of explosions. So I hope everyone's accounted for. I hope there's no disclaimer at the end of the movie that I haven't seen that says, you know, we were sorry, in tribute to
some people were injured.
Guy from no animals for sure, but a few people were blown up. I hope not. So no, look, it was. I think just, you know, the whole thing was surprising. As I said, I didn't know Belarus did World War II so well. The film community out there, so super grateful to have the chance to work with those guys and see how they do it. I recommend anyone who's, you know, looking to go and shoot a movie in Belarus, or looking for someone to go and shoot a movie, definitely check out Belarus. And then you know, just the city in general was very unique. It was the dead of winter, so I didn't get to see too much. I did get to go to the ballet one night at the place where we shot, and I actually saw a performance there, which was very cool. And I got invited onto the stage after the performance and got to meet some of the people involved with the production. So that was very kind and very exciting. So I mean, it was all just, all together. It was cool. But then I'll tell you what the most scary thing is the drives home at night. So here we've got, and I think I mentioned this to you. I'm glad I remembered. So we'd shoot all day. And we'd be coming back in the dark, and it's the dead of winter, and it's icy roads. And I had my driver. He was biggest sweetheart, lovely kid, and he obviously thought that I wanted to get home, right? I've been working all day, and I need to get back to the hotel, and let's get him back. So he was a little bit eager in terms of the speed, which was no good on an icy road in Belarus in the dead of winter. So almost every night I nearly died because the car would spin out, And it's like, okay, I've been around guns all day. Things have been blowing up.
Yeah, you're sensitive.
We've survived that. We've survived that. But no, you're going to die in the Mercedes on the way home and spin around, So, but luckily, obviously, that didn't happen. So we made it. But that was it. So a few close scrapes.
Let's see. Got a couple more. If you had to play any other character in this movie, who would it be and why?
Wow. Probably one of the older generals. They get to stay warm in this movie. They're not out in the snow. That would be me taking the easy road. I would probably. Well, it's interesting. I'm not playing the villain in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I play the villain quite a lot of the time. So, maybe I'd play one of the villains, but, I think the Russian characters are brilliant in this. I love the performances that were given. So maybe I do that, but I can't speak Russian as we'd already established. So it wouldn't happen.
There's a few people asking about putting on different accents, how difficult it is to learn or perform with other accents, an English accent or American or.
I think so. It's practice, right? I think that it is practice, but look, I'm English. It's probably a good start. If English is your first language, if you're doing an American accent anyway, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty terrible at some other accents, but I'll give it a good go. If I get laughed at, I get laughed at. I got to learn a little bit of Polish for this film, just a couple of words. I think it was supposed to be more. They probably listened to my Polish and said, we've got to cut this down because this guy sounds terrible. I don't know. But either way, I got a couple of words in. So add that to my resume, Speaks Polish.
Speaks 5 words of Polish.
Exactly. The only 5 words you need.
Yeah. I'm looking here through these questions. What are you looking to do next? That's a fun one. Or, I also like, there's that, what are you looking to do next? And then I also like, if you weren't an actor, what would you be doing? That's a fun one.
Yeah, well, right now I'd probably not be doing a lot like everyone else. But I don't know, I've had many interests, over the years. Acting's always been a consistent one. I recently directed a short film which you actually got the chance to see when we were up at Mammoth Film Festival. So I directed that. It's called Tether. Going to hopefully make it available for people to see in the not too distant future. You know, we were doing film festivals before this whole situation with COVID-19 occurred and everything got shut down. So we'll see where we're at, you know, in a short space of time with regard to my short film. But I really, really enjoyed that process, and I'd love to expand on that and make a feature film. So I've been writing with some partners of mine and we have been developing a few different projects that, you know, we would like to make. So I think that would be a natural progression. It's definitely something that I feel excited by. And then, you know, if I wasn't acting, I mean, who knows? You know, I did, you know, when I was 18, 17, 18, I was at college in my town, and I took you know, I had what's known as an A level, which is someone under a degree in law and communications and in business. So very, very different. Could have gone a very different way, you know. But I think life's beautiful like that, you know. I mean, twists and turns happen, and I think as long as you're as open as you can be, and you realize, you know, I was reading this quote about, you know, as one door closes and another one opens, but for a lot of us, we spend so much time worrying about the door that closed and the things that we missed about that door that we don't look at the door that's opening, you know. And I feel like if you can live your life by looking more at the door that's opening, the door that may open for you, I feel like that's the best position you can put yourself in. And even with acting, you know, we've had to be like that over the years, you know. I mean, as actors, we audition for stuff. I still audition for stuff, and you're not going to get everything, you know. And things that you really thought you were right for, things that you love, it might not work out. And so, you know, you got to learn to deal with those parts of it. And, you know, it's a very kind of real part of the business that we all go through that sometimes isn't really talked about too much, you know. But there's a lot of rejection. There's a rejection in every way, you know. You've got to pick yourself up, and you've got to get on with it, and always ask yourself what it is that you really want, but always be flexible and ready to adapt, you know. I think that's what happiness is about. It's what life's about. At least that's what it's been about for me.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you're opening another door with the directing. We talked, I mean, you know, that's how we met each other, was sitting next to each other while your short film was showing. Has directing your short and wanting to move a little bit more into that space kind of changed your approach to acting at all, or maybe vice versa? I mean, I'm sure you can bring both elements into one or the other.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think so. I think I've always watched other actors over the years. I think that's how you learn as well, you know. And I've had the opportunity of working with some really fantastic actors over the years, and I feel like, again, then with the directors, it's the same story. And so you know, you're able to pull on your experiences and stuff. I think that, I don't know, if it's interesting. I mean, definitely my acting has influenced my directing, but at this stage, because I've only directed the one thing, I don't know if the others influence the other. But I mean, for me, it's just like I've kind of just opened up this whole new thing for myself, that I already knew a bit about. It's like I've walked into a bigger room at a party, you know. That's what it feels like. It's like I was in this one room, and then I've gone like this. I've gone, whoa, this is here. But I know everything about, like, I'm still at the party. I still know everything about this, but there's just more. And so for me, I felt this huge rush of excitement, of enthusiasm, which, you know, I've been acting since I was 17 professionally. And it wasn't to say that I was in any way over it, but it's definitely, it opened up a new feeling for it, a new feeling, and you said, yeah, a new feeling for it. So it's very interesting, you know. I'm proud of myself that I took that step, and I wanted to. You know, I've been thinking about it for some time, and now I want to continue this education and continue this enjoyment. I've had some help along the way, which has been fantastic.
Yeah, I like the metaphor about there being a different room at the party. There's a lot of rooms at this party that you can get into, which is it's cool to explore all of them. I've been in a lot of them in this industry. It's just yeah, yeah. Well, man, I told you we wouldn't talk for an hour, and we've almost been talking for an hour. So, is there anything left that
It's always a pleasure,
you
man.
want to say about the movie? I mean, the movie's brilliant. I'm sure a lot of people here have seen it. If not, they can go watch it on every platform on demand now, and it'll be over there soon. So, yeah, you did a brilliant job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I just want to say, look, we had a lot of fun making this film. I think it's got a real, it's a very exciting film with a very heartfelt element as well. I feel like, you know, if you're not a World War II film fan, give it a shot. And if you are, I'm confident that you will enjoy this one. Add it to your favorites. I hope. But no, thank you to you, Eric, for hosting this, and thank you to
Yeah,
everyone for being a part of it and checking it out. I look forward to keeping up with everyone's thoughts and feelings on the movie via social media. So you can chat to me there as always. And I hope you enjoyed the film. And I look forward to doing another one of these sometime in the future, my man. Thank you.
yeah, it was good talking with you, man. Have a nice night. It's late over there, and I'll talk to you soon.
Good night, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you.
See you, man.